What a championship of the world. But only the 15th, Mike Tyson here, can claim to have captured the imagination of the sporting world in anything like the way that Ali used to do. At 20 years of age, Mike is the youngest ever heavyweight champion and undisputedly the best. Mike, it's good to see you here on Grandstand. What about all these pictures I keep seeing of you in the newspaper with all these pretty girls? What's going on since you've been here?
Dad, I don't know.
You're having a good time anyway.
I've just been captivated by the whole country, and it's, you know, I'm amazed to be here. I always wanted to come to England, and I heard a great many nice things about it, and I'm just happy to be here.
Because you're a great boxing historian as well as a great fighter.
Absolutely.
I mean, you go back and you remember all the old British fighters, don't you? You've read about them and seen films and all the rest of it.
Yes, I did.
Tell me about the Bone Crusher fight, which is the one that, of course, we saw here a few weeks ago. We were pretty disappointed with the fight. I guess you were too, weren't you?
Well, you know, I was in a situation where I was fighting a very strong, very powerful man, and it's just that he didn't come to fight. And being very powerful as he is, he used it to his advantage, and he held me so tight, and it was almost impossible for me to get loose.
It takes two to tango, doesn't it, really?
I believe so, but it's just I was disappointed because I couldn't believe he was doing this. He was fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world, you know. This is the time to go all out and expose yourself and put everything on the line.
Did he ever have some sort of crack at you? He caught you, we thought, with a half-decent punch in the very last round.
It wasn't the punch would hurt me or anything. It was hard. It just shocked me. It caught me right off guard. But I was coherent, and I knew everything that was going on.
Did you get some pretty harsh criticism in the States after that fight? Did people doubt you in any way?
I doubted if people had any doubt about me, just at the fact that Bone Crusher made the fight so entirely and unbelievably dull at points.
We've been impressed this side of the Atlantic with your dignity, both in and out of the ring. But once or twice in the Bone Crusher fight, you let that slip a little bit between rounds. Why was that?
No.
What happened there?
No, let me see this. On the contrary, I was trying to pull him into fight. I would do anything. I would have tap dance in the middle of the ring. I was trying to provoke him to fight. I would say, come on, fight.
Okay. And
people were paying their money. When you're paying $1,000 for ringside, you know, the object of fighting is to entertain the public. You must entertain the public, give them their money's worth, make them leave the show thinking and talking about you, and said it's worth spending my $1,000 to see these guys. And everything he'd done was just the abolishment of that.
What did he say to you when you were trying to encourage him to get involved there? Was he talking back to you in the fight in any way?
No, he wasn't saying anything.
I guess he didn't have time.
It was just unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. It was funny at times. I was saying to my trainer, I said, I can't believe this guy is doing this.
Tell me about this approach of yours to boxing. You enter the ring, you wear black, you don't wear socks, you don't acknowledge the crowd very much. Is this something that's quite natural to you, or was this something perhaps that the late Custer Matto?
No, this is just my style of fighting. Because I feel like I'm a warrior. And like the warriors, when you go in a fight, you must put everything on the line, your life and everything, and I'm prepared to battle for my life.
Your youth is well documented about the street gangs and all the rest of it. How did you and Custer Matto, who was your great teacher and your mentor, and of course found Floyd Patterson before you, how did you and he come together? How did that come about?
Because of one of his fights, he had a boxing friend that knew me. That was one of his fighters a long time ago. And I got in contact with him, and from then on, he brought me up to Cuss, and that's how we met. And it was like almost like love at first fight.
Love at first fight?
Yeah.
That's not a bad phrase, that, I tell you. I guess you would miss him a lot. He died, what, about a year or so ago?
Yeah, a year and a half.
Yeah. Do you feel in a way that you're still sort of fighting for him?
Well, I wouldn't say that no more, because his objective was just to make me independent of myself, you know, where I didn't have to need him anymore. And, you know, I feel bad because I wish he was here to watch me become a success, because at times when I was a young kid, we used to always talk about it, and he always knew it would happen, and he used to tell me to be careful of this, to watch out for this, and everything that he said when he was alive came true. And the people, the hanger-ons came around, everybody that wants to give you things, they came around, and I feel I was blessed to even know him, you know what I mean? Because everything that's happening now, I've been pre-prepared for it when I was a young kid because of Cuss.
And you remember?
Yeah, I remember everything, and that's why I think I'm going to have a successful, healthy, a year that's going to last for a long period.
You're only 20 years of age now, and you implied there that Cus knew this was going to happen to you, that you were going to be the best, and you were going to be the heavyweight champion of the world. But when did you first feel it? When did you first know in your bones that you could go all the way?
When I was 15.
15?
Yeah, I started because when I was 13. And I started because I don't know if I wanted to fight or not. The idea was good, you know. I mean, I was violent because, believe it or not, when I used to box, fight in the streets all the time, get in a fight, I used to get beat up. I used to lose all the time. I used to just lose. And the last thing I expected to be was a fighter. You know what I mean?
Where are these guys who beat you? That's what I want to know.
A successful fighter. Yeah, I don't know where they are either.
Yeah.
But anyway, we started fighting, and then I felt confident, and I remained a confident individual, and here I am. And I never let anything leave my mind. Even though anything bad happened, you lose, you get knocked out, anything happens, I refused to get discouraged. I refused, and I knew I'm not going to stop until I become champion of the world, you know what I mean?
That was something deep inside you?
Yeah.
Or did Cus give you a lot of that?
Well, he explained about confidence, you know, and the belief in yourself.
Tell me about what happened. I mean, you turned pro so young, just 18. Tell me what happened in the amateurs, apart from the street fights. Tell me what happened.
Amateur boxing is so much different because I was going through a learning stage, and Cus' objective was for me to fight professional, and he taught me a professional style of boxing, and the fight in the amateurs was just mainly to get experience. And the professional style and the amateur style is so much differently, and it wasn't advantageous towards my career as an amateur. But still, and I feel I thought there was a lot of politics involved, but still in all, I never had a chip on my shoulder about anything. I always thought the best man won. I never thought, well, I beat him, we got robbed. My object was the best man won. And as you know, I stuck to it, and my career has boomed so magnificently.
It certainly has. Tell me, you nearly went to the Olympics, though, didn't you, in '84, the LA Olympics? Yeah. How close were you to that? You were in the finals, weren't you?
I was in the finals before Henry Tillman. Yeah. I dropped him a few times.
You dropped him a few times, and you lost the decision?
It's very difficult to understand, because when you're fighting amateur boxing and you knock someone down, it counts as if you tapped them on the shoulder.
That's right.
It's just 1 point, and really, it doesn't count for a big margin or anything. And that's what's unbelievably funny about amateur boxing. But I think any kid that, you know, get involved with sports like boxing, it's good for their morale and their discipline. And so that's why I never took it back.
Henry Tillman went to the Olympics, and there's a chance you might meet him again.
Well,
in the professional
things seem gloom for me to meet him again, because he just lost a fight with Evander Holyfield. And like I said, I neglect nobody. I would love to.
Big man. You know, with a solid neck.
I was always big for my age, yeah.
But how much weights did you do? Do you do a lot of weight?
No.
You don't do weights. Now, that's very interesting, because we have Frank Bruno, of course, who you know very well, and you met again yesterday. And Frank has done a lot of weights in his time, and he's developed his body a great deal.
Physique. Unbelievable, I think. But for me, I don't get into weights. I just like to work out, run, train, do the exercise, calisthenics. And box.
Frank's been criticized a bit for overdeveloping his body. What do you feel about that? Do you think a boxer needs all that muscle tone?
Well, it's in his mind. If he believes that and he lets that affect him, that everybody thinks that he's muscle bound and everything. I doubt it seriously, if he's muscle bound.
You don't think that that's a factor very much?
No.
Tell me, you sparred, you know Frank, you've known him for a few years. When you were a kid, you're still a young man, but when you were a kid, you were about 15 or 16 or something, you sparred a bit with Frank on I think his first visit to the United States. What happened between you there? Was it fairly serious sparring, or? Oh yeah,
when I train, I'm very serious. I'm very serious, yeah, because it's my business.
Yeah.
And you know, it was great. You know, I fought a few European champion, I think, and we fought. And it was an interesting session.
Yeah. This is you meeting him again yesterday, and Terry Lawless, who you knew from the States and all the rest of it. And you had a few words for each other yesterday. But when you sparred back in the States, did Frank connect with you? Did he hit you hard? Frank's a bit older than you, of course.
Yeah. Well, I'm a very elusive fighter, and it's very difficult to hit me. And even at that stage of my career, it was very difficult to hit me, and I'm very elusive, you know. And my objective in boxing is to avoid as many punches as possible and to land as many. And so if time comes I have to take a punch, I'll do that well, but I'm not going to show the world that I can take a punch by standing and letting someone hit me. That's just not my objective. And about Frank, I'm sure Frank must have landed a shot or two. It was 5 years ago. It's very difficult to remember. And I'm sure he has his opinions. I have my opinions. It was just a great session and a great pleasure for me to box the European champion. It was a big high for me at that particular time because I was just a kid and my objective was just to become a great fighter, you know, and I felt I was just a stepping stone boxing with him, getting the experience. And in the long run, we were just helping out each other. Well, I guess that's why he's in the position he's in now, and I'm in the position I'm in now.
There's a chance you might get down to business in the ring. What would your approach to that fight be?
Business. I would love definitely
Business,
to fight. I neglect nobody, even though Frank's a charming gentleman, unbelievable man. I would love to do battle with him and anybody else that's the threat of taking my title. I want to get him out of the way.
Would you see a fight with Frank Bruno as easy?
I don't consider anyone easy because anything can happen on the way to the fight. But I don't see nobody's going to beat me, you know, without a fight. I'm not giving up my title. I worked too hard to get it, and I'm not just going to give it up that easy. So when you come to fight me, you have to be at your best because you got to be prepared to beat me at my best. And at my best, I don't think anyone can beat me.
Tell me about Quick Tillis, who Frank fights on Tuesday here.
Very experienced fighter. You know, this is going to be an interesting fight for both Frank and Quick Tillis, and that's why I wanted to come and watch the fight. It's going to be interesting. I remember a long time ago, I was 16 at the time, and I went to upstate New York where I live at, and a few miles down the road, you know what I mean, I watched Bruno train, and I went to train with him, and Tillis was there. And Tillis, in his mind, that's how come I think this is going to be an interesting fight, because in Tillis' mind, he believes he could beat Frank Bruno. He really believes it. And when someone believes that, you know, they get in great shape, and they get in the best peak, because I really think he believes he can beat him. It's going to be an interesting fight.
You think it's a tough one for Frank?
Yeah.
Now, they say that Tillis gave you your toughest fight. How would you see that?
I wouldn't agree. He gave me a very difficult fight because of his experience and my experience at that particular time. And I didn't have the confidence of going to 10 rounds. It was my first time going 10 rounds. And from that fight, it was a great learning experience, you know what I mean? And I commend him on that because from James Tillis, I became so much of a better fighter.
Have you ever really been hurt in the ring?
No.
As an amateur or as a pro?
As an amateur, yes, but as a pro, no. Like I said, amateur is where you gain your experience from. This is when you find out if you can make it or not. We have to go here with these guys.
You've never taken a punch in the pro ring where you've been scrambled, where you've not known where you were?
Never been scrambled, no. But I know the feeling, but I've never been, like, scrambled out of it.
You know the feeling from the amateur days?
From the gym training.
From the learning.
Because it's going to school when I'm in the gym.
Sure. Tell me something. I believe you don't really have idols in the ring.
No.
But you must have guys that you admire for their ability and for their ring technique. Who would stand out for you, do you think?
You mean like the old-time fighters?
The old-time fighters, or perhaps in the last... Perhaps not the old-time fighters, because it's a generation... not a generation, it's a century back.
I love watching Eusebio Pedroza, Roberto Duran. Those are Ray Leonard. But Ray Leonard was more like an entertaining, theatrical fighter, you know what I mean? When you watch him, you get laughs out of him and everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's so classical and everything. But watching a guy like Duran or Pedroza, I was tremendously impressed.
There are a few judges around who reckon that Leonard's going to give Hagler a tough fight. How would you see it?
Well, everybody, you know, like I say, I believe he's a good fighter, and everybody knows Hagler's a tremendous fighter. But if there's anyone that could beat Hagler, if there's anyone that could beat him, I think Ray Leonard's the only one that could.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he can, but if there's anyone that's going to beat him, I think Ray Leonard could.
Of all the heavyweight champs down the years, people liken you most probably to Joe Frazier. I personally think you're entirely different because your defense is so much better, but how do you see that?
Well, a lot of people have sentimental favorites, you know what I mean? And Joe Frazier always being, having a disadvantage or advantage, which way you want to put it, because of his height, and he always fought the big guy. And everybody wants to see the smaller guy beats the big guy. That's just sentimental value. Everyone wants to see the big guy, the small guy wins. So I guess they always look at that because of my height differential compared to the giants of today. Yeah. But like you say, I see no comparison whatsoever.
And obviously no comparison with you and Muhammad Ali, entirely different type. But would he be somebody that you would admire? I mean, you'll have met him, won't you?
Yeah, I know him dearly, and we're good friends. And anyone in boxing has to be out of their mind and admire and appreciate Muhammad Ali. He's an unbelievable human being, besides a great, tremendous fighter.
Yeah. You're such a young man to be right at the top of your profession. And you mentioned earlier that that Customato warned you about the hangers-on and the people who would want to get to know you and want to befriend you because of who you are and who you've become. So who looks after you? What happens when you need advice and when you need looking after back home in New York? Who's closest to you?
Well, I just go and talk to my dear stepmother, Camille Leewar. I always talk to everything when I have advice, if I want to know anything about a girl, if I want to know how to take this, how to approach a certain girl, anything.
Yeah.
In general, should I do this with my money? Should I buy this? I just go and I talk to Camille.
This is your stepmother.
Yeah.
Now, Camille, I believe, is in her 80s, isn't she?
Perhaps,
Or
yeah, 83, 84.
83. But she gives you advice on the girls, does she? I guess there's a few girls over there that would be delighted to become Mrs. Mike Tyson. What's the situation at the moment with the...
No situation, no girlfriend.
No girlfriends?
No girlfriend, no.
And what about here? Have they been chasing you around the block here? Or?
No, no one's been chasing me.
Out of the ring, what do you like to do most? What are your pastimes?
I don't know, I like to actually go to my friend's house. I have an apartment, I have a roommate. Me and my friends go over there and we hang out, we play music.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it. We don't do much. We go to the movies.
Right. You're quoted, Mike, as saying when you were the youngest ever heavyweight champion at 20 years of age, you said that you wanted to be the oldest heavyweight champ. Now, Jersey Joe Walcott was 38.
Yeah.
That would mean 18 years in the ring. I mean, is that a realistic proposition?
Well, anything's realistic. Anything's realistic. It's nothing that I push aside and say is impossible. I don't believe anything is impossible. But, you know, I love fighting at this particular moment. And we'll hang around and we'll see.
But you're certainly enjoying being the champion of the world, I
Most
take it.
definitely, unbelievably.
Yeah. And I hope that you'll continue to enjoy your stay here in London, Mike, and it's been a pleasure meeting you and a pleasure having a great champion in our midst. Thank you very much. Nice talking to you, Mike. That's great.
Thank you, Dad.
And of course, the big fight to look forward to this coming week is Frank Bruno's fight, and you can see that on Wednesday night against James Quick Tillis. Can Frank win this one and perhaps meet the man here in due course? We certainly